You'll float again. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer. This is episode 51 of I Hope You Suffer. My name is Nathan.
I'm Kit.
And I'm Katie.
I'm Katie, officially.
And this week, we are going to talk about It Chapter 2. So, spoilers. Don't listen if you have not watched this or you care to watch this movie. Because I got some shit to say. I guess first off, do you guys want to just give kind of like initial kind of thoughts before we kind of dive into it deeper?
Yeah, go ahead, Kit.
I dug it. I've seen a lot of hate on it, which I don't feel like a lot of it's fully justified. It's definitely too goddamn long. It does not need to be almost 3 hours, but I think it's fun. It's not as good as the first one, but I mean, I don't think it was ever going to be. I have some other more in-depth qualms that we'll get to as we dive into it.
What about you, Katie?
I think overall I liked it. I didn't expect to not like it. I think I don't know. I know that I said before, I hate remakes, and when I saw the first one, I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I would. Like, I liked the first one a lot, and actually when I rewatched it for when we did the episode a couple months ago, I realized how much more I liked it. And this one I feel like I didn't like it as much, but I liked it almost as much. Obviously it's super different because you're going from, you do still get some of the kids, but I think it's like a much different feel when it's like a group of kids facing stuff than like adults, because we're like, who cares about adults at this point? But I think it had a lot of charm. I think the thing that worked best for me is that I found it insanely funny, and I think I laughed like the whole time pretty much, which like was the point. But I, to your point where people had problems with it, I feel like I saw a lot of hate for the humor, but for me personally, it really worked.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I probably enjoyed it just a little less than both of you from the sounds of it. Like, I, by no stretch of the imagination, did not like this movie. Like, I enjoyed it. I never found myself bored watching it. I just feel like, I think my big issue is that
clown dong.
Yeah, number one, no clown dong. Like, all of the stuff I enjoyed from like the chunk of the book I did finish, and then the original miniseries was extremely truncated in this. Like, my favorite parts were seeing where the kids were as adults in the book, even though they're kind of, some of them are fucked up and hard to listen to or read, but like, I don't know, I like that part, and I like the stuff at the Jade of the Orient.
Yeah.
And like, all of that's like the first like 30 minutes of this 3-hour movie.
Yeah, it is really, really long. Like,
I
I
wish they would have focused more on kind of some of the character stuff at the beginning, as opposed to like the end fight scene kind of felt a little longer than it needed to be for me.
Yeah, I felt like the parts in the middle where they're doing the token retrieval or whatever were really long, where, all the characters are by themselves. I don't really feel like, with the exception of some of the characters, I don't feel like it did anything to like develop the character as an adult, so like separately, because like they live most of their life separate at this point. So I feel like I would have rather them spent more of the movie on them together and like redeveloping the connection that they had when they were kids, and that was like something that felt really left out of this movie versus the first one where they're, pretty much together the whole time.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed some of the stuff with them finding their tokens or whatever, but some of them also didn't need to be as long as they were, I guess.
Well, especially since some of the tokens were things like it was cool for me to see like Richie's token, because it was some like literally a token that we never saw in the original, but like Bev's, like we already knew about that postcard. Like, can they stop talking about that awful poem?
Yeah, that's never gonna happen. So my biggest question leaving this that I was waiting to record. So they all, after leaving Derry, forget all of that shit, right? Like
the first time?
Yeah. Like when
Yeah.
they leave Derry, then like they just slowly lose all of those memories to the point that like they don't start getting them back until they all converge back. What does Ben think that fucking page from his yearbook is about then if he doesn't remember any of this?
I sort of assumed that maybe he remembered.
Just like like young love, but maybe not necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like they remember like vague bits, because obviously they remember each other and certain little bits before, everything comes back to them.
All right.
Like, obviously Bill remembered that his little brother died.
Yeah, because
So I feel like really basic information like that, I guess they retained.
I saw somebody on like who wrote a letterboxd review that was just like, "How's somebody gonna forget their brother died? This is dumb." And I was like, I'm pretty sure he didn't, but like I was like they made it seem like he didn't know who Beverly was, and I don't know. I kind of bumped into like, oh well, you have this fucking yearbook page in your wallet this whole time, like. But I guess that kind of makes sense.
Well, I think also he was still trying to act like he was like cool or whatever.
Yeah.
So he wasn't trying to like freak out that she was finally there again.
He's no John Ritter.
No.
It really bummed me out whenever they're on the stairs, like talking to each other, and she's like, "I'll never forget the boy who like wrote this to me, Bill," and I was like, "Oh fuck."
I was really waiting for like the scene from the miniseries to happen, and I just desperately wanted it to be like him kissing Bill Skarsgård as it.
Oh my god.
Like when he does it with Tim Curry, and he's like, "Kiss me, fat boy." That's the only thing this movie was missing.
That could have been the consensual sex scene, and they just robbed us of it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a deleted scene that we'll get in the supercut.
Oh, it'd be amazing if they were just like, we gotta up the ante, and he just fucks Ben. So Kit finished the whole book, and the Native American stuff, is that in the book? I know like the ritual is, but
not like they gave us this thing from this particular tribe and this is how you defeat it. At least not that I remember. I remember them reading up on the ritual and that it was, some Native American ritual and that they were going to try it, but it wasn't like it was in the movie.
Yeah, so I think
right, Katie?
That
I remember that.
She didn't
correct?
finish it.
Hell no.
She made it less than I did somehow.
Yeah.
Like that was, I think, the only other thing that I really kind of was like, oh, come on.
Because
go ahead.
So in the book, it's not like they have like this little I don't know what you would
like
call
it,
the thing that they were going to catch
The
him
little
in.
trash can.
Yeah, they didn't have that thing that had the markings on it or whatever. The whole vision scene was they were down in that underground clubhouse, and they were doing a vision quest where they were just basically smoked out in there, and they see that it came from space and has been just kind of living in Derry ever since. So that's kind of where they get the idea. Doing the vision quest, they decide they'll try the ritual of Chud, since it was
Every time they said it in the movie, I thought they were saying like
like,
Jude, and then I looked
yeah,
up.
I was like, don't say Chewed.
After the movie, I just read through the plot on like Wikipedia because I was like, how much of this was like in the book? And I saw it was spelled Chud with just an umlaut, and I was like, God damn it! Like fucking drugged out Stephen King. It like, I don't know. I feel like that was my biggest thing in the movie, that I was just like, come on, this seems unnecessary.
It was the rare thing that was less cringy in the book, I think, than it.
Yeah, I feel like the way you said, where they, because I know, like, at least in the description I read on Wikipedia, like they do that as kids as their way of like defeating him the first time or whatever. And I kind of like that idea more than what they used that for in this movie.
Yeah, I sort of wish they would have done it the opposite. Like, I don't love the idea of the ritual, but I at least like it better than in the miniseries when they're just like, oh, we're gonna throw earrings at it. Like, why? Like, what? So at least there was like some sort of like reason it existed and like where it came from and what they could do. I do think that the scene from part 1 where the kids beat the shit out of him was like amazing. Yeah. So I don't know that I would want that to be taken away from me, but like, I don't know. Calling somebody a clown boy, come on, like.
We were talking while you were like getting your mic figured out, and we were like talking about like Letterboxd reviews, and one of the ones I read was that like somebody was like, I can't believe they beat Pennywise with a Twitter pylon.
I mean, that's pretty much what happened, except for that they weren't even all that articulate. Like, that scene was really weird to me because, first of all, they're like, hey, let's say mean things to him, and then he'll be small. And he, like, hears them say that, and he's like, no, that won't work. And then they're just literally like, you're a clown head, you're a fuck face. And they just, like, say fuck at him a bunch of times, and then it works. And I was like, what? They're barely even saying anything.
I'm gonna defeat all of my enemies by calling them sloppy bitches from now on.
Yeah.
Just yell you're just a clown at them a bunch of times. I mean, like, I don't know. It's goofy when you talk about it. I feel like it kind of works, but I feel like they could have done something else with. They could have shrunk him down and then done something else, as opposed to just continue to do that for like a solid 5 minutes.
Yeah, it stretched on really long, and they kept showing like different angles of the people like walking up to him, and I was like, okay, yeah, we get it. And then they just like take his heart, and I was like, okay. And Chris was like, okay, when the little baby Pennywise was like laying there and he was gonna take his heart, and he was like, no, and he had his little like clown hands. Chris was like, I feel bad for it, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. Did you not just watch this like 12-hour endeavor with me to see like all the shit that he did?
I mean,
he did look kind of cute at the end though.
I did like that they like kind of went full on with him just killing children, because like they didn't really show that a lot in the first movie, and they were just like, oh yeah, this dude's just fucking eating kids left and right in this town now. So
here's the thing that confuses me about, so he like eats children, but then why is it, I'm wondering, so the opening scene when I think his name is Andrew Mellon gets like beat up, thrown over, and then Pennywise like eats him. Is it just because he's weak? I guess he needs to eat.
Well,
he feeds off fear, I guess. So I understand. I feel like they make it a point to be like that he goes after children, but Adrian's an adult who like has no link. Like, he's not a part of the losers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's as far as I read it was that it's just the signifier that Pennywise is, out of his quote unquote like hibernation or whatever. It's supposed to be the thing that like in the 90s miniseries, it's the, like Mike finds is like kind of researching stuff as these kids are starting to go missing, and that's like what signifies Pennywise is back. And I think this was the thing that like did it in this movie, and I think that's, as far as I remember, is in the book, because that scene was fucked up.
Yeah, that's how the book starts.
Ha! I told you.
See,
Nathan and I were arguing
well,
about it.
I mean, I wasn't arguing. I just said I read on Wikipedia. Like that's like in the middle of the fucking plot.
Okay.
So
I saw that. It's because on Wikipedia
it's in, like,
they
a timeline or whatever.
Yeah, they separate it by time. So they just take
okay.
everything from like one time and lump it together instead of like trying to hash the flashbacks.
Yeah.
All I remember from
So,
the
yeah.
book is just descriptions of dicks.
Wow.
Yeah, that scene
The
was.
leper offering to give blowjobs.
I didn't make it
Didn't
that
get
far,
it.
thankfully. Like
Didn't get it.
that opening scene, I feel like was the hardest thing to watch in this movie, and like
Yeah.
extremely, like brave's not the right word because it's just a fucking movie, but like I'm surprised they put it in, but then I guess it kind of ties into the whole like twist with like Richie's storyline in the movie.
Was that
Yeah.
a part of the book? Do you remember?
Nope.
What, Richie?
Because
It is like kind of alluded to, but it's not anything nearly as concrete as in the book.
right,
Or
I
as
saw.
in the movie, rather.
I watched a bunch of like interviews with like the director and the actors and stuff today, and I do remember them saying it was like sort of hinted at. I just wasn't really sure like in what capacity, because for me, I didn't get that sense at all that it was like part of his character until Pennywise was like, you have a secret, and I was like, oh, and I sort of figured it out, but I know that the director said that it was like hinted at, and he decided that he wanted to run with that as being like Richie's secret. I just was like, having it be Richie and Eddie, I didn't understand like where that connection came from.
I think it was Richie liked Eddie. I don't think Eddie knew.
Right.
I mean, I liked that because I liked the idea that it was like the dude that constantly is making either like gay jokes or jokes about fucking your mom or like
Fuck your
whatever
mom, yeah.
is the guy that was like in the closet. I don't know. I liked that like reveal and made his whole like character, I think, a lot more likable instead of just being kind of like a loudmouth dick.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I've seen throughout like all of the critiques of the movie is that everybody is just like Bill Hader just fucking crushes it in this movie.
He did. I have to. Him like vomiting all over the place all the time was like extremely funny. Like I loved that. I still gotta say, and I think I said this in the first one where I really expected Richie to be my favorite character, but Eddie really was like the star for me.
Yeah, he's real
Like
good.
as a
Yep.
kid, and his James Ranson, is that his name?
Yeah.
I thought number one, I thought he looked exactly like if you told me that they waited and filmed this movie like 27 years later, like I'd be like, yeah, that's the guy. And I thought
It's
he was on
freaky,
point.
right?
Huh?
Said it's freaky, right?
It is.
Like-
And he was like for me, like the hero of the movie, but he gets abused so bad because like, you know, they all get fucked up, right? But like when he was little, he was the one that broke his arm. He gets stabbed in the fucking cheek. He gets in a car accident. He gets like all of this stuff keeps happening to him.
I laughed so fucking hard when he gets like stabbed in the cheek, and he just like when he stabs fucking Henry
What was his name?
Bowers,
Henry.
and he's just like, cut that fucking mullet. It's been 30 years, and he just like
Oh my god.
stumbles out of the room.
That whole scene was so funny because he gets like stabbed in the cheek and he's just like, why did you do that?
Why?
He just like shrinks back into the shower, and I was like, what's happening?
The guy that played Henry Bowers is also like fucking spot on looking.
Like a dead ringer for him, yeah. One of the things that
I was like, go ahead.
I saw in like some of the interviews they were talking about like how the kids between filming, so many of them had like growth spurts or whatever, and so they CGI'd a bunch of them like their faces. Finn Wolfhard, I
Yeah.
think is his name, that plays Richie. The most he looks pretty different, and like anyone who watches Stranger Things can see like how different he looks. But I first like obviously they did that. All of these kids are like growing, and it took them forever to like film the movies. But I actually did not notice that they like CGI'd their faces at all, and that kind of surprised me because the rest of the CGI in the movie did not impress me that much.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily notice the faces, but I also like I wasn't looking for it where I feel like a lot of other people were because I avoided reading anything about it until after I watched it. So like I wasn't going in like I wanted to go in like at least anymore with almost any movie I kind of watch. I try and go in as little knowledge as possible. Like I'll watch like whatever the first trailer that's released and then just kind of nothing else after that. And like there was a lot of stuff people complained about that like I just didn't have issues with because I just avoided looking at anything about the movie until after I watched it.
Right.
Like the faces I didn't even notice. Like the CGI I definitely did. Like I wish they would have let Bill Skarsgård just be creepy. Like let him be creepy on his own more than they did in this one.
I think in certain cases the wonky CGI like works to the movie's benefit. Like specifically with Mrs. Kirsch.
Yes.
Like that first time she runs out of the kitchen, because she looks unreal in a very unsettling way instead of a way that takes you out of the movie. Like there's a scene where Beverly's looking through her own old room or whatever, and she moves some books and like some cockroaches run out, and they're super fake. Like they're the worst CGI cockroaches I've ever seen in my life, and shit like that. You know, it's like why do that? But then something happens like Mrs. Kirsch, and it's like, okay, that's horrifying. Like I don't like that. Get that off of my screen.
That was fine. I thought the thing with the little Stan head like was fine.
Oh yeah.
I thought the Paul Bunyan thing was so terrible. And I wish they like wouldn't have put it in there, but I mean I think part of what makes it bad is that it's daylight, right? So you don't have like the shadows and the darkness, but I just thought it was so bad. I was like, is this a joke?
I think the only thing with the Paul Bunyan I didn't like was the mouth. Like I could deal with it looking cartoony, especially with it being part of like Richie's thing. I feel like the idea of it being kind of cartoony would work, but like the mouth just put it overboard into just like this is goofy.
Yeah. I think the CGI for this one, and then there was a lot more like jump scares, I feel like, than in the first one, and that like effect where things like scream and shake or whatever, and by the time it was like the 10th time it happened, I was like, now I just have a headache. Can we stop?
Yeah, I feel like the only time I kind of really had issues with the CGI was like the Pennywise monster at the end, and then like the pans between things in the beginning where it would pan from like one scene into another through like, you know, whatever CGI camera trick. I was kind of like, I see what you're going for, but this kind of doesn't look great.
Yeah, I liked the Pennywise spider crab. Actually,
I hated it.
Yeah, I didn't.
I hated it so much.
I didn't like.
You guys would rather have the scorpion thing from the miniseries?
Yes,
I-
1000%.
I'm gonna hang up.
My issue, I didn't like that it was like half spider, whatever, and then just half Pennywise was my thing. I wish it could have. They would have.
I want them to go all in. Yeah,
Or
on
like
something weird alien spider.
If they were gonna CGI the whole thing, they could have went like off the wall and had him just like change shapes like a bunch or something.
I mean, they sort of did that at the end, I guess.
Isn't he's like I guess it's probably more in the book, but isn't it supposed to be that he like goes to like his true form or whatever in the end?
Yeah, so in the book he goes to his true form, and it is like incomprehensible to human eyes.
Yeah.
So he just appears as like, the next possible thing, which is like some big horrid arachnid type creature.
Not
So
half clown.
not a half clown, half spider.
I also
I
sort of
was bummed.
I liked it. I don't know. But
I didn't like it. Wasn't
I
like
don't understand.
the worst thing, but I was just kind of like, you could have done anything with this besides make him just half Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise.
Yeah. Well, the only other thing that I don't understand is that like so the Pennywise creature and the Deadlights are separate things, or they're the same thing. I don't understand why they like appear separately. One has a heart and the other, like, I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't know, like, because the ones that came after the ritual were blue, but the ones that were like in Pennywise in the first movie are yellow. So I don't know if they're supposed to be different things.
I don't know what they're doing with them in the movie exactly. To my recollection, they weren't really a big thing in the book. Like, someone mentions deadlights, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we were talking about his deadlights. Don't look in the deadlights," and that was really like the extent of it. They never came into play really after that. So
that makes sense to me because I read something that said that originally, like in the book, nobody gets caught in the deadlights, and obviously Beverly does.
Yeah.
So I guess they had to make it more of a thing to like justify going, like making that a part of it. But
I don't even think
it just is kind of confusing.
I don't necessarily think they did. I think they could have just made it that like that's what happened, and then all like now she's can see like how they're all gonna die within the next like 27 years if they don't stop him or whatever. It didn't even necessarily need to be like a part of how you stop him. I just felt like they needed to tie something into that stupid ritual. That ritual
one thing
drives me crazy.
I kind of wish they had done with it is like, so at the end when he like opens up his face like weird clown flower thing, and you see the deadlights, but they're clearly like, 100 feet behind his head. Is if they had played into, him being such a horrible like interdimensional being that human eyes can't handle, like the deadlights are kind of his real form controlling whatever they see.
So that's sort of what I thought it was supposed to be, but what they portrayed doesn't make sense to that.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I
Like,
agree with you. Yeah.
That works in that one scene, but if you think about it in literally any other scene where deadlights appear or whatever, it's like that doesn't make any goddamn sense at all. So
Yeah, like baby Pennywise and the heart thing makes no sense with the deadlights thing.
yeah.
So I'm not sure.
They should have just shot him with earrings and just been done with it. That would have been awesome if the movie was like 3 hours, but the final fight scene was like 3 minutes. They just like get in there and he just says something and just Beverly shoots him with fucking slingshot and he's done.
Shit.
Also,
Dead.
I know this is a movie, but like after they defeat him, the rate at which the cavern is like falling down, there's no way they could get out. Because they were like in that cavern, then they had to crawl up that well, then they had to go through the sewer, then they had to like crawl up another well somehow, and then get out of the house. Like, there's no way.
What I wanted to see was the phone call to Eddie's wife and the explanation of what happened to him and why there's no body.
Oh my god, right?
I didn't even think
It's
about
like
that.
the same thing about
That's
like
fucked up.
everyone being like, "Oh, I want to see the scene with like Captain America taking all these fucking stones back," but like, because in the book, after it doesn't like the entire town essentially just
Get wiped
Yeah.
out.
yeah.
Yeah. Was it floods because there's a big storm going on like while they're doing this, and once they defeat him, like the dam breaks and the whole town gets flooded, and it like wipes out the standpipe and just annihilates everything in town.
They just totally wiped out the whole Dreamcatcher canon by not having the movie end that way. So thanks a lot, guys.
Unbelievable.
Best film.
Did
So that's not a shared universe, at least in cinema.
Yeah.
oh
I was really hoping that they would remake it, man.
the scene with Beverly and like at her, like, where she used to live or whatever, her dad's old apartment.
Yeah.
Would they do the scene of like Bill Skarsgård in like the 1800s as the clown? Was maybe like my favorite thing he did in the entire movie, where he just like is putting the makeup on and does like the nail scratch down his face.
Yeah.
Like that's like, I wanted more of that kind of shit with like him being creepy as opposed to like weird CGI monsters.
Yeah, here's his dome forehead.
I mean, like there were like the stuff like with the old lady I enjoyed, and like I like when she comes just barreling out as like the fucking naked old lady monster. I was just like, holy shit, this is amazing. But then it was just like, yeah, other things with it. I was just kind of like, they could have done anything. Like Bill Skarsgård is already creepy enough as Pennywise. They could have done like that scene and the one with the little girl under the bleachers. I was like way into.
Yeah, I liked that one too.
Those
are like the two ones that worked for me in this movie.
The one in like the fucking hall of, I guess, windows, because they weren't mirrors, when he has the weird like Snapchat dog tongue coming up the fucking window.
Yeah, that I didn't care for that like little side quest that Bill went on with that skateboard kid.
I did.
Honestly, I could have done without that whole subplot.
Yeah. I did. I mean, like, I get it. It's just more like showing his guilt about like his brother or whatever, but like it was unnecessary. I feel like they just wanted a reason
fucking get it, man.
to have Pennywise smash his head into a fucking window like 20 times
And murder a child.
Yes.
I think that scene could have been better if I felt like it was sort of drawn out, and I guess the point was that Pennywise was like fucking with him, right? But I think it would have been like after, if he's, I don't know, he just slammed his head into the glass so many times that the effect was sort of like lost on me.
Yeah, I also hated watching James McAvoy run into one of those plexiglass windows like 15 times.
Oh my god. Okay, so here's one of the things that I was gonna comment is like that I think they're like little gimmicky, not gimmicky, but they did it too many times, right? He ran into the glass like 4 times, and towards the last time he did it, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, can you just knock yourself unconscious? But they did that. They like took something that worked and they're like, now we're gonna do it 5 more times. It's gonna keep working. Like, case in point, I felt really targeted by this part in the movie because so Bill's a writer and everybody in the movie is constantly complaining about his endings, right? Which, like, I have said, like, this is a common opinion. It's not just me, but I've said it many times and on this podcast that I love Stephen King's writing, but I don't think that he has solid endings. Yeah. And like they said that this poor guy, they said it to him like 12 times in the movie, and we're like, yeah, we get it. Like, we get it. Move on. But then again, with like the jump scares, they just kept doing it, and I'm like, okay, we get it.
I think the stuff with Bill and that little kid could have worked better if they cut out that entire thing at the carnival, where like it could have just been him, talking to the sewer, and then like Pennywise grabs his arm or whatever. Then you just had the kid kind of going by, and he's just like says the thing about like hearing some kids' voices in like the bathtub drain or whatever it was, and then he just like goes on his way. And it would just been like more of Bill being like, I have to stop this from happening to other kids. I don't think you needed that entire thing of him going to like the carnival to try and save this fucking little skateboarder kid.
And also, it's like he was in the Chinese food place also, and then happened to move into Bill's. Like, why?
I did like that scene in the Chinese restaurant though. When Bill Hader actually gets pissed off about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chinese food scene didn't work for me as well, again, because of the CGI. Like, they showed it so long that I was just like, it doesn't look the best, in my opinion.
My thing with all of that is I wanted more of them reconnecting, and like you miss the entire thing of like Ben talking about how he lost his weight, and like because they like at some point Richie says something about it, but then it's just Ben gets to say nothing about like the stuff with like his old like running coach or whatever it was. And like I wanted more of that. I wanted to see more of like, well, I didn't want to see more of Beverly getting beat, because I was really dreading that scene happening. I think they did it well enough that like it's short, but you get the point.
Right.
I'm glad they cut Tom Rogan like almost entirely,
Yeah.
like his whole subplot. Like,
Yeah, him and Audrey, whatever.
Yeah, because
Audra.
that scene at the end of the miniseries made me want to like stab my eyeballs, and I was like, if they do that again, I don't know.
I just wanted more of like where they ended up, because you really don't like a big part of, at least I think the miniseries, it was either the miniseries or from what I remember of the book, was like they're all successful to keep them from coming back to Derry. Like they're all successful because they left, none of them have children, and it was like some just thing with like whatever with Pennywise that like the only like they all like, you know, what are the odds that they all ended up becoming like successful except for Mike, who stayed in Derry.
yeah,
And like you don't get any of that. You don't really get any of them reconnecting, except that they all just show up at the Chinese restaurant and they're all just like best friends again all of a sudden. I don't know. I wanted more of that and less of the hour of the last fight scene or whatever it was. Although like some of the stuff at like when like I liked the scene with like Beverly and Ben, and like the where she's in like the bathroom stall and he's in like the little bunker thing they built.
yeah,
The part that bothered me about that is like the whole clubhouse thing, because unless you read the book, like if you just watched the first movie or whatever, you don't know what the clubhouse is. And they're using it as sort of like a, you know, device for Ben in the movie, but until they act like, and he mentions it, you know, when he's like having his talk in the beginning, he's like, your building should be your clubhouse, and you're like, what are you talking about? Until they show he's like, oh, I built this clubhouse, and then that's what he gets buried in. So for me, like it didn't connect to me, because this is like they just like made it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It took me a minute when I was watching it to be like, did they hint at this in the first movie? I remember like the stuff with like building like a dam to like stop like whatever they were fucking doing in the water, and then like I was like, did they talk about a clubhouse? But then I was just like, oh, whatever, just like let it go.
Okay.
I mean, like I don't know, it like I just went with it as just whatever plot device. Like I didn't necessarily bump into that as much.
I guess I just don't care about Beverly and Ben at all. So their whole like side story was just really boring to me.
I don't know. I like their story in the miniseries, and from what I read of the book, I don't feel like they did a super great job, at least in the second part, of building that so much. Like they do very, you know, it's really good in like the first part. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like this one they just kind of like hinted at it, and then all of a sudden they're just like a couple at the end, as opposed to kind of like building towards it more. Because it's
I think
good.
it's they focus like too much on the fake out with Bill in this,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
just didn't really focus on Ben much as a character at all. Like, you know, point A to point B, he's like the same person, you know, from the start of chapter 2 to the end, and it's just kind of hard to care about him. It's just like, oh hey, there's Ben again, I guess.
No, exactly. I felt the same way about Bev for me, because in part 1, I loved her. Her character was really strong. She was like unique. She had an actual character, but I felt like in part 2 she didn't, and Ben was the same way. They just were kind of like, here we are. Here's our trope in the movie, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
They kind of focus. They did. I mean, they focus a lot more on Richie than I thought they were going to, and even like Eddie.
Yeah, they do.
Which
Well,
I
I
mean,
was okay with that because
yeah.
Eddie's my favorite.
I mean,
But
like both of them are good, but it also like it just made it's like Bill, Eddie, and Richie, and then everybody else just took like a back seat in like their kind of any sort of development.
yeah, and especially Mike because like he does have his scenes, where he's like trying, he calls all of them and he's trying to like convince Bill to like listen to his like whatever, but when everyone else is like getting their tokens, they don't even like do anything with him. Like, okay, you assume that he has his token because he never left and he lives there, but he got nothing.
What was his token?
The rock from the
Oh, the fight.
when they had
Yeah.
the rock fight.
His like.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Can we talk about the scene with Eddie in the basement and he's like choking out that leper and the leper just vomits all over him and that music starts playing? I was like, what's happening? This is the best thing I've ever
the
seen.
fucking leper is Pennywise apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we find out that the hallucinations the whole time have been like extensions of Pennywise.
Which I mean, like it
Essentially.
makes sense, but it was like that whole thing. I was kind of like, really, like you could have apparently ended this by just strangling him, but you had to go through all of this fucking other bullshit to defeat him at the end.
But you can't strangle him because he'll puke on you.
Yeah, good
That's
point.
right. Puke all in your mouth.
As soon as that scene
Ugh.
happened, I was like, is this the fucking scene Kit's always talking about with like getting offered a blowjob? I was like, is that gonna happen here? And then like it didn't.
I was waiting for it.
I mean, sort of.
Eddie
People are
gets
into
just
choking.
fucked up in this movie. It's like
He does.
nothing
The
really
poor
like
guy.
nobody else really gets like hurt other than some like scrapes and bruises or whatever probably at the end, but Eddie's just constantly getting fucking injured.
Right. That's what I was saying. Like, I think the only person that gets hurt, well, Ben gets like stabbed in the stomach, and then he's got to like splash around in the sewer, which we talked about. But he's fine apparently. Stan gets his face bitten, which I'm sure would really hurt, but like literally, broken arm, stabbed to the cheek.
Well, yeah, but like
He-
in this one specifically, like no one really like they have the scene of like Ben getting like whatever like Pennywise in the mirror is like
yeah.
carving in him, but that goes away when they break
It's
the mirror.
not real,
like
yeah.
I guess Richie gets fucking attacked by Spider Stan.
Spider
Yeah,
Stan.
but still, he doesn't. He gets like slobbered
Yeah.
on. That's pretty much it.
Like no one else really. I mean, I guess
I mean, Stan kills himself, so
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Well, yeah.
is that is the all the stuff at the very end with like the letter from Stan in the book.
No.
yeah. That I don't
Like,
remember that at all. I think they just made that up to give Stan, a bigger part.
Yeah,
In the book, it was just because he didn't want to go back and he was terrified
yeah.
because he
It's,
slits his wrists in his bathtub and then he writes "it" in blood
Yeah.
on the wall, and like that's the last you hear from Stan.
it's like from what I remember reading on Wikipedia, like the end is basically they all leave town and just slowly forget about all of it again, except for I guess Ben and Beverly, who are a couple.
Yeah. Yeah, because well, and they did it in the original miniseries too, because like, remember Mike is at the hospital, and the outro is him talking about like the only reason I remember this is because I'm reading my journal. So they do all forget again in the two original, but in this one, I guess they just decided to like go the opposite way.
Because in 3 years we're gonna get a sequel of them and like their
Oh, it's
fucking.
gonna be a prequel.
Oh, it'll be
No.
a sequel of them in their like 60s fighting Pennywise.
Again, it's like
Holy
their
shit, that would
children.
be fucking amazing. I would watch the shit out of a bunch of fucking
Yeah, I'd watch
old
that.
people trying.
Listen, yeah. Remember when he was like, they were like, oh yeah, why don't we just like skip this time around and we'll fight him again in 27 years? And he's like, you fucking idiot, we'll be like 70. I would watch that. They could just stab him with a walker. They did it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be like, this is a monster killer. It harms monsters.
Also, can we talk about how weird that like Stephen King cameo in the like antique store was?
I like
I
it.
thought it was perfect.
I thought he was acting so weird. He was like, You
Well,
can maybe I'm missing
I mean,
something,
he's
but he's
Stephen
like,
King.
well,
he's
I
supposed to
know,
be someone
but
from Boston, so it makes sense.
I feel
he just kept being like, "You get out of here with that language."
I feel like he just like came
Three.
in with this like he was like I'm gonna play this character, and they were just like whatever you want to do. Like just like if
You're Stephen King.
if Stan Lee showed up for a fucking cameo and was just like I'm doing this, they would have just
Do-
like
do whatever
okay
you want,
yeah
yeah.
that's fine, we'll just edit
I
it.
will say I'm really bummed because I read this thing about how originally that scene was supposed to be a lot longer, and they were supposed to have a flashback, in the antique shop, because you know how when Eddie goes into the convenience store, it's like the same pharmacist and Glenda or Greta or whatever her name is. They were supposed to do the same thing with the antique shop, and Stephen King was supposed to be played by Joe Hill, which is his son, who is like another one of my favorite writers. And I was like, okay, definitely they didn't need to put anything else in this movie. But all I'm saying is, that would have made me so happy.
They were trying to get a Guillermo del Toro to have a cameo in it too. I don't know what part, but I said they wanted it, and the timing and scheduling didn't work out.
I saw something about how somebody from the mini series has a cameo in this, but I don't remember who. I'm trying to find it now. It's just a bunch of shit about Bill Hader because fucking nobody will stop talking about Bill Hader.
I mean, to be fair, he's super great.
Oh, like all of the stuff I see, like I've seen like a bunch of reviews on Letterboxd and like tweets and shit. They're just like weird Bill Hader stan accounts, and it's weird. Oh,
There's some kind of director that's in it too, but I didn't know who he was.
Young Ben from the '90s movie is one of the employees at Ben's architect firm.
Is
Is that
oh
the
my
guy
God,
that like
in the
stands up and
beginning.
talks? I'm guessing.
Yeah, that you're supposed to
Yeah.
think is Ben.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
I knew he looked familiar, but I thought they just chose him because he looked.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
man,
thought it was
that's-
just gonna be like the joke that like you thought this was.
Yeah,
Huh.
That's
that's
amazing.
what I thought too.
Good for them. You know, I don't know. I think overall, and again, it is not one of my favorite Stephen King like stories in general. But I think if I gave the first movie a 7 out of 10, I think I would give this one like a 6 out of 10.
I think the first one is for me like almost perfect. Like I give this is like a B-. I don't know. Like it's not bad. It just definitely has issues. Oh my god, they almost
I think they
had
did a good
Idris
job,
Elba
though.
as playing Mike.
What?
That would have been incredible.
Idris Elba expressed interest in playing Mike, which would have been a totally different movie because I guarantee you he would not have been as
What if
terrible
he
as
was-
Mike is portrayed in this movie.
What if he like came on as like Charles Minor?
I just picture them like Idris Elba trying to do that scene at like during the fucking ritual where they're like it didn't work, like what the fuck's going on, and he's just like being super cowardly.
He's like,
As-
oh yeah, I forgot to mention that
I could not buy Idris Elba as a scared person.
No,
Like that scene, he'd be fucking slapping everyone and be like, "God damn it, believe!"
he would just beat the
Right,
fuck out of
Idris,
Pennywise,
Jesus.
and it would have been over. 15-minute movie. He doesn't.
It would have been Pacific Rim.
He doesn't even have to like call the rest of the group. It's just him fucking realizing Pennywise back, and he's just like writes a fucking letter to Pennywise, and he's like, "Go back," and he's like, "Oh, I'm good."
Just a solo movie. Mike going out and like fist fighting Pennywise just all across town.
Fucking amazing.
I watched that movie.
I hope they do one of those prequel movies, but it's just all of the in-between period stuff of just the rest of like the Losers Club just living their lives separately. It's just like Ben fucking designing architecture for 2 hours.
Mike doing interviews for his book.
Yeah. I just want to see the entire thing of Mike hanging out with the Native American tribe. Coming up with the idea to fucking drug Bill. I hate that so much. It's so
yeah,
stupid.
that was really strange. I was like, that's not cool, man. he's the only one that like is even gonna give you the time of day, and you're gonna drug him.
Yeah, I feel like all of that ritual stuff. While like I prefer the ending of chapter 1, I just feel like that works better for like kids than it does like a bunch of fucking 40-year-olds.
I mean, yeah.
If it had been done like the book, I would have liked it a lot more. But I totally understand why you can't do it like the book, because it's all a bunch of like metaphysical nonsense.
Yeah.
So they're like supposed to bite each other's tongues, and then it sends them like gliding across the universe. And
Oh my god, I was reading
Bill's
about
talking
that.
to the turtle the whole
That sounds
time,
fucking
and
amazing. I would have fucking loved that so much.
I think that when I was reading about that, I was like, is this like a fake wiki? No, it's real. I don't think it would have been received very well.
I mean, this movie is
I would've loved
already
it.
not really being received well, so fucking why not go for it?
should
I
have tossed it
guess.
the turtle.
That's the thing though. It's
Well-
like I think I saw reviews where people were like, "No interdimensional turtle, no care." So like,
Wow.
I
I didn't even realize
as much
it.
as people
Well,
are just like obsessed with like make it like the book, make it like the book. Like I think a lot of people would have been happy about it. I think regular people going to see it as just a horror movie would have been like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah.
yeah.
Too
Yeah.
much.
I mean, it has a 7.1 on IMDb,
Well,
so that's
Bill Hader stan accounts are fucking doing what they do.
yeah. I don't know. I think I did see that it was the highest grossing horror movie, like in box office behind the first one, so at least they made their money back from it.
Yeah, but that's a problem because that's like I said, they're already talking about like, well, what else could we do with this fucking franchise? And it's like, no, do nothing.
You can stop.
Maybe if you
I think
just
they did a good job. I don't think, it's like,
do another Stephen King movie that's not as popular,
well,
like Maximum
speaking
Overdrive.
of, oh, you mean like a remake?
Yeah. I mean, that's what they're gonna do. They're going to like. I guarantee you they do. Well, I don't know. Pet Cemetery didn't do very well. What I was gonna say, I guarantee you they do another Pet Cemetery, but like they're doing Doctor Sleep, which I guess technically isn't a remake of a movie, but like they're going to keep
Right.
doing Stephen King stuff like left and right now. Like go for something like less popular. Like he's got 8,000 books. You don't have to do the same fucking 5 of them.
Give me his fantasy book, you cowards.
They are doing another Netflix adaptation of one of his stories, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, which might be good because I really liked 1922 and
Yeah.
Gerald's Game. Yeah, Doctor Sleep, I don't know. For people who don't know what that is, it's a sequel to The Shining. I tried to read that book and I just did not like what it was about or where it was going at all, so I don't think I'll see the movie unless I'm forced to for this.
No, because I barely care about The Shining, let alone seeing a fucking sequel to it with Ewan McGregor.
No, I just don't. Nothing about it looks appealing to me. But it does come out in November. So, oh, also more Stephen King news. He has a new book coming out tomorrow. Well, by the time this comes out,
A week
it'll have
ago.
been out already. Right, but for people who don't know, it's called The Institute, and it's described as the most riveting and unforgettable story of kids confronting evil since It.
Oh boy, I wonder.
So we'll see.
Isn't that every Stephen King book since it? I feel like this is a description for all of them, even the ones that don't have kids.
I mean, yeah.
If
So we'll see. By the next episode, I'll probably have read it, and I can let everybody know what I think. But
you're gonna bug us pretty good until the last 3 chapters.
Right, I'm gonna say what I always say. I really liked it until the ending.
Until the hand of God reached down, took the nuke away, or whatever.
I want a book. I want a book specifically about the life of the turtle.
Same.
Yeah.
The turtle's like a real thing, though.
Yeah.
Not. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody if that's what your belief is, but that was the whole that being a part of this story really confused me because I'm like, you can't. It's already a thing someone made up, so how is it? I don't know. I'm just gonna.
Clown dong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna talk about clown dongs now.
If they were going to try to remake something that isn't The Shining or It or like Carrie, what would you want to see them do kind of in this like more serious style?
Silver Bullet.
Oh my God. You know what?
There's only one real answer, and it's Dreamcatcher.
I was gonna say Dreamcatcher.
I thought you were gonna say Thinner.
I want Dreamcatcher in
Oh.
10 years when Finn Wolfhard is more of an adult and he's playing Jason Lee's character.
Yeah, can you just take all the kids from this and then just
Yeah.
like remake it?
Mike is playing Morgan Freeman.
Redo Sleepwalkers.
Sleepwalkers would be good.
About the murderous weird cat
Are they-
people.
I know they're doing The Stand, another like Stand miniseries
Yeah.
that like Stephen King is writing like a new ending for.
God, I hope so.
Bruh, come on.
Are they doing Salem's Lot again? Or am I just making
Oh,
that
I
up?
don't know.
I don't think so.
I think you're
But it's
making
not
it
that
up,
I'd
but I
heard.
like
Well,
it.
they should.
I think you watch Salem's Lot and we're like, I hate this. I hope
I
they're
may have,
remaking
I know.
it.
I feel like I just saw Salem's Lot. Actually, isn't bad. It's just it's like a mini series, so it's like fucking 3.5 hours long, and it's like it's cut together like you know how, like the It mini series is, where it's like there's no credits cut out. Would have been if you watched it on TV.
Yeah.
So just so long. Maybe I just read like some retrospective on it, and I just got that mixed up in my brain. I don't know why you wouldn't though. That's kind of something that'd be primed to be remade.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I feel like they already like redid The Mist with like the TV series or whatever, which I also did not finish. There's a lot of them that I feel like are fine that I don't want to see them remake. Like if they did Stand By Me or something, I'm like,
We're all stupid. Thinner. Why are they not remaking Thinner right now?
I said Thinner.
Kit
Oh,
said
did you?
Thinner, and I was like, no.
Well,
I don't know.
think-
I'm stealing Kit's idea and saying Thinner.
Legit deep cut I'd like to see remade is Graveyard Shift.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Even though I love that movie and the cast in it rules, and I'd hate to see any of them get recast, I would like to see a 2019 version of that. And
Well,
see
I
what
feel
they
like
do with it.
if they remade something that was like already pretty decent, I feel like it would be better than, taking something that was like a piece of shit and then trying to like redeem it. And then I feel like they like try too hard or something, if that makes sense. Like with Pet Sematary, I felt like was fine before, didn't need to be remade. Then they remade it and got crazy with it, and I didn't care for it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody did.
I hope not.
I legitimately would watch the shit out of a fucking serious take on Maximum Overdrive. I don't know why, but I think that would just be like fun. And like, I don't know, like, I don't know like how you would do it to make it serious because it's just a goofy premise, but like, I will watch that.
I think. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that reminds me that the Alamo Drafthouse by me is showing Maximum Overdrive tomorrow, and I'm gonna go see it.
You better.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
You better laugh as loud as possible when that dude gets hit in the balls with the soda can.
They've been showing it in the previews, so anytime I'm there and it happens, I cackle like an idiot.
That was the best
That's
scene
so
in the
funny.
movie.
I think that they could. Well, like I was saying, I think the humor for me really worked in this movie. I think it's hard to like have like a horror movie that's really like trying hard to scare you, and like I don't really know that part 2 was psychologically for lack of a better term, harming than the first one was for me. But it's hard to do that and like have jokes in it and have the humor land correctly. And it worked for me in this movie, and that's part of why I loved Krampus, that has Adam Scott in it. I love
yeah.
that movie. I know a lot of people hated it, but I saw it in the theater and I laughed the entire time. I thought it was so funny. So I think if they do it right, they could remake things like that and have it serious, but like, acknowledge that it's goofy.
I was trying to think of like what would replace the Green Goblin truck, or if you would just. I wonder if Marvel would let that even happen at this point.
Absolutely
Probably
Because
not.
like
not.
Marvel was like extremely bankrupt then. Like, I bet it
No,
would just be like a fucking Transformers crossover, and at the end it would just turn into fucking Optimus Prime and fly away.
it would be a tsunami.
Speaking of, Kit, did you watch Zombie Tidal Wave?
I didn't know it was out.
Oh yeah, it like
I
it
saw the
premiered
the
like
trailer for
a
it.
couple days after I texted you about it. We need to watch that.
Oh, okay.
It was
Yes.
it was on TV at work. I caught like 30 minutes of it, and I was like, why are we not talking about this right now?
Well, let's not get too deep because we still got to do Velocipaster.
Oh, I know. We got a bunch of shit. It's just some of it's got all fucking hit streaming when we have money.
Yeah, we need Shudder to sponsor us. So
Yeah, Shudder, give us money so we can talk about movies that aren't on your service.
Please.
that's right.
Or just put shitty movies on your service so we could talk about them and then give us money.
One of those two.
Yeah.
That
Just
works
give
too.
us money. All
Balls in your
all
shutter.
all that money,
Money,
you saved from not bringing Elvira.
Getting Elvira. Oh my god.
Um,
Oh my god, there was one funny thing I wanted to tell you. I was watching, they filmed it like whenever It Chapter 2 was like not released, and they did a thing where they took like the actors for, you know, the child actor and the adult actor and had them kind of like recap what happened with their character in the first whatever. And so then I also, you know, went down a wormhole of that. And so I was watching this interview with Bill Hader and Finn Wolfhard, and one of them said they had to like describe each other, and Bill Hader said that Finn Wolfhard looked like if he and Andy Samberg had a baby, and I laughed so hard, and I was like, I ship it.
that's pretty fucking funny. I don't know. Anybody got anything else about It Chapter 2?
I got a weird fact for you. It's gonna
Ooh.
bother a lot of people, I think, probably. The woman that played Eddie's mother in the first one
Oh yeah.
plays his wife in Chapter 2.
He looked so different though.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I never would have guessed that, but someone mentioned it on Twitter, and I was like, "Is that true?" And I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh God!"
I did like that they turned him from just like a limousine company owner or whatever to like
Yeah.
a risk management person.
So it's like a
Yeah.
real job.
Yeah, I thought that like made sense with his character.
Well, and Richie went from being like a disc jockey to having like a, well, maybe that was just the book, because in the miniseries he was on
he's like
too.
a comedian. His the fucking routine that what's his name does in the miniseries is real terrible, and I hate it so much.
They're both pretty bad.
Well, I mean, like at least in
I
this
think.
one, they made it a point to make him like be bad on that night, as opposed to where
You're right.
fuck, what's his name?
Oh yeah,
in the-
he was always like doing all those voices or
yeah,
whatever.
he's just like making noises and shit. I'm like, no one would put this on like the Tonight Show.
No.
In 1990, man, who knows?
I mean,
I have
was
a
watching the Tonight
goof.
Show probably then, and then I don't remember shit like that happening.
No. I have a goof. I don't know if anyone has pointed it out anywhere, but I noticed in the Stephen King cameo in the gift shop, you can tell when they shot it because so he had a book on his desk and I was trying to read what it said, and that's the only reason I thought maybe it was going to be some kind of like Easter egg or something, and it's not. But there's a book that he's reading and it says like antiques, and so when they like flash back from showing like Bill to showing Stephen King, the book like moves position, like in one part the spine's out and then in another part it's like close to him on the thing, and I was just like, huh, I found a goof.
This movie just dropped down to like a fucking 2 for me.
Yeah, I'm redoing it on Letterboxd.
What was?
I thought it-
What was? Did you see the title of the book that Stephen King had that was like Bill's?
It was like the Black Tide or something like that.
Oh, for some reason I thought like in my mind I read it as like Doctor something, and I thought it was gonna be like a reference to like Doctor Sleep coming up.
They should have done that.
I think Black Tide may have been like the name in the mini series or the book, maybe. of one of the books? That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it
I
was
think
an
it's
actual
the same name.
title. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I think
kept
it's the
it.
same name as in the book. I forget what it's called.
I did like the scene of Bill riding the fucked up bike.
Okay, also, he paid $300 for that piece of shit, and then every time he got off it, he literally just like threw it on the
Well,
ground.
I
And
just
I was like,
I
dude,
just like that it somehow went from everything falling apart on it to him just riding it perfectly and
to
like
being
fucking
fine.
knocking it back and forth, and he's just riding it.
Like the handlebars are coming off, and he's just like, this is fine.
The deleted scene with some WD-40, which works wonders.
Yeah, it's just the deleted scene as Mike shows up, and it's just like them in the fucking miniseries where they're fixing the bike together or whatever. Mike just happens to be walking downtown with a fucking can of oil.
Alyssa would have given him something else to do.
I did also like the Nightmare on Elm Street part
Yeah.
5 being like the movie playing at the movie theater. Was that Dream Master? Or is that 4?
Dream Child.
Dream Child. That movie is terrible.
I've got a poster for that movie.
Yeah. I mean,
Proudly.
I genuinely like all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies except the remake, but it's still like, it's pretty dumb.
I don't think I've seen them all, actually. And I know I haven't seen all the Friday the 13th either, so that's...
Well, I guess
I'm
we
gonna-
got a plan for a couple Nightmare on Elm Streets then, because the last 3 are goofy as fuck. Well,
Okay.
no, I take that back. Like 4, 5, and 6 I find kind of goofy. 7 I legitimately enjoy.
Yeah, I would plan to try and like watch them all, but sometimes watching them all like in succession is like a little rough. Oh, they released I don't know if anyone's watched the Scream series, TV series.
I have not.
I thought I watched the first 2 seasons like whenever they came out. While I thought it was like a little predictable, I really liked it. I thought the show was shot really well. There's a lot of really good kills. So they just released season 3, and I watched it, and it's like a completely different set of people, completely different story because the other one ended. The story like was like, it was okay. I didn't like the ending at all, but there's a lot of really good kills in it. So if people want to watch something in the background that's like sort of like that they can like half pay attention to, it's like fun. But I definitely recommend the first 2 seasons. I really liked it.
What is it about? Like, is it just...
Screaming.
Yeah.
Is it just like, is it Sidney Prescott still, or is it just...
No. Well, so the first 2 seasons follow like a specific, like season 1 and season 2 are all about the same group of people. And so it's like the same concept where you have a ghost face and like there's some reason that they're terrorizing and trying to kill this person and like picking off people that they know. Like obviously I don't want to give any, like it'll spoil it if I say like anything else. So then for some reason they decided to do a 3rd season where it's like a different group of kids. Although some of the kids in it are really good. I think her name is Kiki Palmer. She was also in Scream Queens. I think it was her, but she's just great in it. And I really wish that she would have been more of like the main character because she's amazing. But they wrapped it all up in 1 season, which I feel like they shouldn't have done because it was like, I don't know. The rating on the 3rd season wasn't super great. But so it's basically just like Ghostface exists kind of like as a character, but it doesn't have anything to do with the original series.
Yeah.
Except for that it's Ghostface.
What I guess I was confused about is I didn't know whether it was like actually tied to the movies at all, because it sounded like I was like,
No.
how are you doing a series on this based on these movies?
Yeah, no, just that the premise and the character. But like I said, they put some money into it because there are some like really gnarly things that happen. One of the very first kills in the show, like I started watching it, and I've said on here before that Chris, who is my soon-to-be husband,
Gross.
hates horror movies, like hates gore, doesn't like true crime or anything like that. And I started watching it, and as soon as the first kill happened, I was like, oh! I like made a noise to try and like alert him that he should not be looking at the TV. And he immediately looked and was mad at me. So there's some like really good effects and kills in it.
I suggest watch Paradise Hotel instead, because it is
No. What?
The worst show I've ever watched, and I watched all fucking 7 or 8 episodes because I'm a garbage person.
I don't.
I was watching something and it just popped up like next on Hulu, like it just started playing, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And it's just like the worst people on earth being the worst people on earth in a fucking tropical island hotel.
I remember when that was like new. I remember seeing commercials for it, and
It's real bad.
yeah, no, thank you, no thanks.
I texted Kid about it because I was like, you'll love this, you should watch this.
Oh my god.
I've got a brand.
Kit and I talk about garbage reality shows more than we do horror movies at this point.
Wow.
I'm like, hey, have you seen like 90 Day Fiance? Have you seen fucking?
Oh my god. Married at First Sight or whatever the hell.
I haven't watched that, but fucking shit, what's that show called? Back with the Ex.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, it's so good, and it's like the worst, grossest premise of just like somebody who's pined over like their some lost love when they were like younger that like never got over it, and then like they convince that person to like be a couple with them for like 30 days, and they have to like live together and like go. It's so gross, but it's so fucking watchable.
Do they get money for being on it, or do they only get money if they like stay together?
There's no like prize money, but like obviously they get money for being on the show, and then like
Okay.
they get sent on like this fucking like big fucking vacation and shit for like 2 weeks, and it's strange, but it's fucking fascinating.
I hate it.
It's like no one on it is likable. It's just fucking super gross, but Kit will love it. Yeah.
You guys watch that, and I'll watch The Flash by myself.
This has been a reality recap with Nathan and Kit. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing else if nobody else does.
What are we watching?
I don't know. You were supposed to pick a movie.
I sent you. Okay, so I have two. I sent you one, which was Witchboard from 1986. That is about a Ouija board, and I watched a trailer for it, and the trailer looks really terrible because they obviously just took supercuts of the movie to make the trailer, so it looks really bad. So it might be good. And then there's also, if you wanted to watch a newer movie, there's one from 2016 called Eloise, which is like about an asylum, which I love asylum stuff, but I recognized it because it was a real psychiatric hospital, and and That's Why We Drink did a story on it one time about like the actual hauntings and stuff. So, and Elijah Dushku's in it.
Which one do you want to do? I will watch. Yeah, I watch anything. You guys just pick a movie and I'll watch it. It doesn't make a difference to me.
You have to be the tiebreaker, Kit.
Oh, fuck. Alright, I'm torn because Witchboard sounds entertaining and like I've at least heard of it. But the other movie sounds like it has high potential to be fucking awful.
Right, and so the reason I was like maybe picking that is because I feel like on the show you guys do a lot of, with the exception of like zombies or like weird animal things, you do a lot of like older movies. And so like I feel like older movies and new movies are like terrible for different reasons. So
I mean,
I thought,
why don't we just do both, and we'll just do the next 2 weeks. We'll just do like Witchboard and then whatever the other one was the next week.
okay.
There we go.
Deal.
Problem solved. Judge Reinhold has spoken.
Oh my god, did you see I Snapchatted you? I watched a movie this morning that had him in it.
Yeah, that wasn't Beverly Hills Cop.
No, it was Vice Versa, which is really good because it also had Fred Savage in it, and they like switch bodies, and it's hilarious. I highly recommend it.
Fred Savage has one good movie, and it's called The Wizard.
He has a lot of good movies. He is a gem.
Name 3.
Little Monsters.
Yeah,
Princess
I was gonna say
Bride.
Little
I
Monsters.
forgot he was in Little Monsters. All right, I'll give you that.
Boom.
Okay. Austin Powers. No, I'm just kidding.
Is he in Austin Powers?
Yep.
What
Isn't
the
he the
fuck?
mole?
I haven't seen Austin Powers since it came out.
Well,
Well,
this came back to bite you in the ass, didn't it?
No, I'm still sticking with Austin Powers is not good. I will
well,
die on that hill.
He was in Dinosaurs.
I don't know what that is. The TV show?
That was like a video short. I was thinking of a different thing. Damn it.
he's also in
Think about the Whoopi Goldberg movie. How has no one said Princess Bride? Like, come on.
I said
Kit
Princess
did.
Bride.
I can't hear Kit.
Why are you ignoring me, Nathan?
You hate
That's
him,
right.
I
man.
muted Kit out of this episode, by the way.
Also, it's not a movie, but The Wonder Years.
The Wonder Years is terrible. What's wrong with you?
No, it's not. It's good.
The only good thing that came
He-
out of that is the rumor that the one dude is Marilyn Manson.
What? Huh?
What's his best friend's name?
I don't remember.
Like, whoever that kid is, everybody, like...
I was about to say Goober. That's not even a. I don't even know that that's a thing.
The rumor is that, like, that kid that played Fred Savage's best friend in the Wonder Years turned out to be Marilyn Manson, which is, like, not true.
Interesting.
I had no idea that was the thing.
Because he looks like, you know, Marilyn Manson, like... It was like a thing in like the 90s when he first started getting popular before he got like way into like over the top makeup and shit. Like he looks like that kid would be as an adult.
Oh, you know why I said Goober? Apparently, he plays someone named Goober in BoJack Horseman.
Oh.
He also does somebody in Bob's Burgers. Do I need to go on with his creds? Because I think it's pretty
Yeah,
strong.
you haven't said one other good movie. You just said a bunch of TV shows. Like he directs a
He
shit
was in
ton of It's
Seinfeld.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay, well, we said The Wizard, we said Little Monsters, Vice Versa, which I watched this morning, which is good.
Ass.
The Princess Bride.
Ass.
What? You're just a hater.
No, I like-
Go
I
watch
like
some
Princess
reality
Bride. I'm
shows.
going
If he was
to.
in a reality show, you'd like him.
I need to finish iZombie before I fucking fall in the bathtub and die again.
Oh my god, yeah. Everyone should go watch iZombie and not fall out of your bathtub.
Yeah, if you don't like The Walking Dead, watch iZombie because it's a good zombie show.
I thought you were gonna say if you don't like dying, don't fall out of your bathtub.
Yeah, Kit doesn't know that. I fell out of my bathtub and fell back first into the fucking corner of my sink last night.
Fuck.
And like
Ow.
fucking bruised
Fuck.
the shit out of my ribs. And then went to work, because if I don't go to work, I'm
Fuck
not
that.
eating. It
Yeah, right.
is fucking terrible. I've been like dying the last fucking day. So everybody don't be old. That's the lesson.
Man, I'm
Good
trying,
one,
but
my
it's pretty
opinion.
hard.
Don't turn
not to be old.
37 because it just fucking all stops.
Oh, I've got time.
Yeah, you got like what, 7 more years?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you're gonna
I have
die. It's like Logan's
I have
Run.
like 5. Oh god.
Can I just die at like 31 instead?
God, I wish. I wish Logan's Run was real.
You wish that Kit would
Yes,
die?
I
That's
told you
not
I mooted
cool,
him out of
man.
the fucking episode.
We did say, to be fair, we did say that I was replacing you like 12 episodes ago, so it just took us
Yeah,
a
that's
little
true.
bit longer than we expected.
That'd be fucking.
Implement.
I should legitimately just drop this episode and just like take all of Kit's lines out for like a day and then just fucking drop the real episode. So everyone's like, "What the?"
That
fuck?
would be so confusing to listen to.
It'd just be like long moments of like silence and then just us like they're like, "Kit, what do you think?" And then just nothing.
Yeah, right.
I don't have fucking time to do that, or I would. just to do it. All right.
Okay, so next week we're gonna watch 1986's Witchboard.
I look forward to hating it.
It looks bad. I'm excited for my first 2 picks to be terrible, but hopefully not kid level terrible.
God, I
mean,
hope one of
to be
them's
fair,
worse than something I've
I
chosen.
brought Tsunami, so.
Oh,
think
that's
technically.
true. Okay.
But how could you not watch it with that title?
I mean, true.
I
Easily.
feel like after that, we're gonna have to do either Zombie Tidal Wave or like Velocipaster.
Yes.
Oh, there's a lot of shitty movies to pick from.
Yeah, there sure
Who
is.
knew?
All right. I hope you suffer, but why?
What?
You should have done it like Pennywise.